The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Welcome to McGee Uncensored Podcast, and I'm your host, McGee. Today I'm going to be talking about the WWE Draft that took place recently. I needed a few days to digest and assemble my thoughts on the upcoming brand split and the draft and where people got drafted. So I'm going to get right into it. I think everybody, or at least people I know, going in, figured Brock Lesnar would be the first overall pick. But his recent failing of a USADA drug test administered before and after his return to MMA caused the WWE to backpedal on that and drop him in the draft. And I just want to touch on that just for a little bit. He will not get suspended by WWE because it wasn't a failed drug test under their watch. And how often does he get drug tested? Being a part-time performer, not always being on the road. Some questions come into play here. Because a full-time talent gets randomly drug tested. Is it fair? Because Lesnar's a bigger draw, and Brock Lesnar's never going to listen to this, and I'm not bad-mouthing him, but there's double standards. He is a draw. He brings money into both companies, UFC and WWE. But it does make one wonder what his contract includes with the WWE being a part-timer. Anyway, as the draft started to unfold, the first overall pick was Seth Rollins, and then second was Dean Ambrose. There's no problem there. Them two are feuding currently. But I found the draft, at least the live portion of the draft, unfulfilling. I didn't find it to be suspenseful. I found it to be just poorly scripted, if you would say, knowing which draft picks may go. I believe, Charlotte going third overall was a bit of a reach, and I'm not bad-mouthing the women's division. The women's division has come a long way in the last few years after being a mockery for almost 10. But for her to go third overall is a reach. I know they want to put the emphasis on a better product. But to put her above AJ Styles, to put her above Cena, to put her above Bray Wyatt, just to name a few, I disagree with. And look, let's face it, Cena, it doesn't matter where Cena goes, where he's drafted, he's still going to be a focal point of SmackDown, even though he's not going to be working the house shows. It's nice to see that they are seriously taking AJ Styles as a top performer in the company. Him going fourth overall and probably being the top heel on SmackDown. Look, Raw outshined SmackDown in the draft. Really did. They're always going to focus on the 3-hour show. And I just didn't feel SmackDown got its fair due of performers. as I'm looking through the list here. It's going to be a rather boring SmackDown. I mean, there are some names that are going to keep the brand relevant and interesting with Ambrose there and Styles and Bray Wyatt. But, Randy Orton's been in the WWE 14 years now, and he's just becomes very stagnant. There's no growth for his character, no matter if you bring him in back as a face, heel. Doesn't really matter. He's done it all. I don't know. There's just nothing fresh to him as a person or as a character. And with Raw, surprise, NXT picked up Finn Balor. Where does he fit? I guess we'll find out Monday. From Pittsburgh, actually. And I try not to date my shows, but, whatever. Look, I'm going to reiterate, I was very disappointed with the live version. It just wasn't suspenseful. How do you let Raw get Roman Reigns, who has pretty much fallen off a cliff now? His suspension kills his push, which he shouldn't have had in the first place. He's going to be soured on. He'll probably still be somewhat of a top guy, but not near the top. He won't be the guy anymore. And you're going to let Raw take Reigns and Lesnar, which I understand Lesnar's contract has him only so many dates a year. But how do you justify those picks? It was terrible. Like, I'm glad Daniel Bryan's going to be the GM of SmackDown with Shane McMahon, and are putting an emphasis on that. But Mick Foley, and I think Mick Foley is a nice pick for Raw, and who cares whatever Stephanie McMahon does? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't, and I hope that they don't make that the focal point. I hope they make it the in-ring product the focal point, which they should be doing, and they don't do, because creative men, Vince McMahon, live in a little bubble and have no idea how to market guys. I just don't know if it's going to be fresh. I don't know if the product's going to be any fresher than what it was before the draft. You have Sasha Banks on Raw. Why? Because she's going to feud with Charlotte maybe at SummerSlam and win the belt, but she should be on SmackDown. SmackDown doesn't have a tag division. And I'm sorry, but Baron Corbin, in my opinion, is not going to be a top player in the WWE. The guy just doesn't bring anything to the table. He doesn't. He's a lone wolf. What's that mean? There's nothing there character-wise. There's just nothing that makes me want to tune in and watch him. And then you have him, and like I said, you have Randy Orton there. It's terrible. I mean, the good thing is that you're going to finally see Finn Balor on Raw, on the main roster. And you're going to see American Alpha on SmackDown, tag team. I don't care about Nia Jax. I don't think she's terrible, but what's she going to bring? I'd probably take her over Dana Brooke. I would be honest. Dana Brooke is going to hurt somebody very seriously in the ring. She is very green. She should go back down to NXT. Because she just doesn't, she hams it up too much. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not going to be a big player. She's not. They try to keep Big Show relevant by drafting him on the live segment of the draft. And Ziggler's just thrown there, SmackDown. And Natalya is boring. I don't know how smart she is. It's not, it's not being insulting, but she's like her uncle. She has no mic skills. And she's an okay in-ring performer. I mean, truly, how good of an in-ring performer are some of these people on the main roster when they're taught a style that probably doesn't fit their best qualities in the ring? We will never know. couldn't care less about Sheamus. There's nothing there about that guy that's appealing at all. Hopefully he's just there to put guys over now. He becomes like a jobber to the stars, the up-and-comers. His days of title reigns are pretty much over. Unless you get some kind of cheap veteran tag team run. And Del Rio's still there because they don't have a top Latino star. And I think he could be decent. He could add some things to the product. I probably would take Del Rio over Sheamus, but I mean, just they're kind of both the same. They're very boring. And then after the live version, they did the network, rest of the draft on the network, and it just nothing there. It's a shame Cesaro fell as far as he did, and to be on Raw when he should be on SmackDown. And that's the one thing when they did years ago is when they initiated the brand split was Raw was more the entertaining product, and SmackDown was going to be more the in-ring product. But that never happened. You never got to do that, and you'll never get to do that. I'm probably going to tune into SmackDown a little bit more because there are some intriguing picks, I guess you could say. Like I like to see what Apollo Crews can do a little bit more. Not really a big fan of Kalisto. Jack Swagger got stuck on Raw. I like to see him in SmackDown. Alexa Bliss coming to SmackDown. I think that's a nice pick. The women's division on SmackDown is actually not that bad. Except for Eva Marie. I'm sorry. Maybe she has busted her ass off a little bit last year, but nobody cares. She has nuclear heat. She's not a draw. People absolutely hate her. There's a difference between booing a bad guy and just hating the person altogether, and that's what she has. And Carmella, I thought that maybe she'd be down in NXT a little bit longer. But, I have no complaints with her coming up and going to be on SmackDown. I don't know if they know what to do with Bayley. I really don't know. Yeah, she's a huge draw for NXT and the women's division. And the women's division is practically barren right now in NXT with just Asuka as the champion. And maybe a couple girls will step up now. Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Liv Morgan. I don't know who they all have under contract because they do those deals sometimes a little bit separately in NXT, especially with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Because Triple H is more hands-on with NXT and handles talent contracts a little bit differently. So I don't know what the women's division has altogether down there right now because most of them are called up. When you had 3 of them called up, what are you going to do? And it's not as if there's a lot of top women talent out there looking to be signed. I mean, a few maybe. As an avid viewer, and I really try to distance myself and not being called a mark. As an avid viewer, I look to see where are they going to go direction-wise, which feuds are going to develop. And I don't know. I mean, you're going to have Styles and Randy Orton. And they're probably going to do some spot where he hits an RKO in midair. Like we haven't seen that already. But Raw really doesn't have a number one face. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just can't consider Reigns the number one face on Raw. I just can't. But he may be that for the meantime. I really hope that they're done with the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens feud. I'm sorry. Look, I watched them in Ring of Honor, and I followed their career, and I understand, and it seems like it's more of an internet-loving feud. But it's not over a title. It's not over anything meaningful. It's just two people who've grown up together, grown up through the business together, and fight. It's boring. And I'm not going to tweet at Kevin Owens because he'll probably block me, but I couldn't care less once again. But where's the direction he's going to take? Where's he going? The more and more I look at how the roster's divided, there's very little to get excited about. There really is. There really is nothing to get excited about, I should say. For Raw, I said SmackDown. I do want to see what they do with the women there. There's some decent women on SmackDown. And this is also, there's always talk about they're bringing veteran guys back. Until they actually appear on television, I can't speculate as to who will be making a return. I don't know. But they could better do something, because the rosters are looking very thin, even with a few NXT call-ups. The rosters are looking very thin. Man, I'm just like scrolling down, and I keep looking at the roster. Like I said, there's nothing that gets me excited about the Raw roster. I mean, Wyatt family was split up. Braun Strowman going to Raw, and then Wyatt and Eric Rowan going to SmackDown. And Luke Harper will be returning in the upcoming months. Maybe he goes to Raw, teams with Braun Strowman. Who knows? He's somebody who, if they're going to split up the Wyatt family, should have been no guy that benefited from it. But too bad he's hurt, because I would have had him on the live version getting drafted. Definitely getting drafted before Sami Zayn, and definitely getting drafted before Orton. Disappointing. I'm sorry. It's disappointing. I try to find the positive in this, but there's not much. I try to break it down. I don't know if they're going to do 2 world titles. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, if you're listening to this and you want to chime in, go ahead. I'll be posting this on my Twitter. I have 2 accounts, at McGee Uncensored and at McGee Full Nelson. And my YouTube channel. When you see that, subscribe. I need 100 subscribers so I could personalize my YouTube channel. See how long that takes. So that's me covering the WWE 2016 Draft. I'm McGee. This is McGee Uncensored Podcast. Good day.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.